Hey there, welcome to episode 50 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo. You are listening to me record this just after midnight. So it is now officially the 9th of February, Friday, February 9, 2024, here in Las Vegas, where the rain seems to have paused. We can always use more rain, so pausing unnecessary. That's what umbrellas are for. Today we're going to talk about city as a platform. This is another great topic for some guests at some point. So as we approach episode 52, the end of season 0, we'll start pushing more for some collaborative discussion. And as well, we'd like to do maybe some live streaming, get some interaction with the population, the Vox Populi. And I would like, that may include video, we'll see. And I would really like, obviously, more people to participate. So if you are listening to this right now and you know someone else who might be interested, and make sure they know. And maybe you want to be a guest. That would be wonderful. Haven't had guests since the early single and early double digits. To be honest, booking people is not as fun as it could be. Anyway, let's get on with what is a city as a platform. So can an entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem be embedded in or be elevated and cultivated by a city-scale entrepreneurial innovation platform? The answer is probably yes, maybe. As with most things, it depends. And in this case, it depends on the people of the greater Vegas area. I'm talking to you. I am one of you. You are one of me, something like that. That is really something to think about. And that's why I would like to have more guests to talk about things like this. Impresarios, that means people that are doing interesting entrepreneurial and innovative things, even though I've spelled it unusually. So let us find out in the next season how things are coming along for people. In the show notes, wherever you have found this audio program, hopefully you can see the links section. That is one of the things that we will be fixing for season 1 for all of my programs, is owning the publication, the communication channel through which you receive these gems. You should be able to read the show notes easily on a web page. Some podcasts do that. Right now I've been relying on the rich feature set of the Spotify platform. And as well, it's not only Spotify's fault, although $250 million for Joe Rogan. They could spend at least $1 million on better web, better internet content sharing. But other platforms where you might find this audio program, I think Amazon Music, I know Google Podcasts is going away, but we'll start publishing on the YouTube music /podcast feature, and some other places. Getting the show notes is not always easy, so we should have our own home base at cafegenius.org. We have a website. I think the website's still up and running. I really gotta bring all of my platforms into modernity. But finding the full show notes, all the links, all the details, maybe ongoing discussions, et cetera, will be better done when we own our primary publication channel. You should do the same thing. Take back your internet. But in the meantime, the links, my usual, my host link for buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. I have all my podcasts, audio programs linked from there. Obviously, that will expand a bit as I get more, or as we publish our primary website tools. And then there are some other things we're doing at the Innovate for Vegas Foundation that I hope will make it easier in general to discover not only my audio programming, but all content creator content. Content creator is kind of the new thing. No more podcasting. It's content creation, which is fine. I don't like the term podcasting anyway. Audio program, video program, etc. Discovering your local podcast, audio program, video content creator, etc. Discovering these people is often just wandering around on YouTube or Twitch or Locals or Rumble or wherever else you consume your favorite content. Maybe you're a Spotify audio program listener, maybe Apple, is it iTunes? Maybe you were using Google Podcasts, maybe you use Amazon Music. The list goes on and on and on. Interoperability is always a challenge, but it is the modern era. No more using Twitter. Let's get into today. Stop yesterday. All that said, buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. That's where I'm posting that stuff. I recently added my favorite coffee beans. A couple. There are several, but I added a few after doing an episode of Quaggling Sand about making coffee. Exactly. So the Buy Me a Coffee concept, you do not have to buy me a coffee. I'm using it as a kind of a home base, as another way of discovering things that is not mired in social media angst. There is a tipping feature. If you do want to buy me a coffee, the proceeds will go towards coffee beans or coffee equipment. So I did a Quaggling Sand audio program episode about coffee. Speaking of that, ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo, my other engagement, outreach, promotion channel. There's a tipping feature there as well. I don't use Ko-fi as much. I'm still trying to figure out, and I've said this every week now for 6 months. I don't know exactly how I best use Ko-fi, but I'll keep it around because it's already there. You are under no obligation to use any of the payment features of any of these sites. As I say this today, maybe someday. But for the moment, I'm using them as primarily as outreach. So you can find other things I'm working on. Their content tools, their page creation, profile editing tools are not great. So kind of similar problem as publishing audio programs with show notes. You have really no control over some aspects of what people see. That's annoying. City is a Startup link, cityisastartup.com. That used to be related to an alum from the Downtown Project, Andy White. I don't know if Andy is still working with or is any way a part of or affiliated at all with City as a Startup. I thought you might be interested in checking that out. I checked out the site. It doesn't look like they're exactly, updating it on a daily basis. I should talk. But City as a Startup, it is a thing. It's not a new concept. So City as a platform is a kind of a play on that, sort of, but different. Platform is not a startup is not a platform. Ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? How to build an ecosystem in your city. I added that on there because I personally don't think you can build an ecosystem, but maybe. So some of the things you can do. It's from... Okay, do I have this open? I do not have it open. I believe there was something in here I wanted to reference. So, bear with me. All right. So, yeah, Founders Institute. Sorry, Founders Institute, FI. The thing that I thought was interesting, why? Well, startup ecosystem is good. Entrepreneurial ecosystem, entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. It's good to throw these words around. The thing that I thought was interesting, the Boulder thesis, as in Boulder, a place or a thing you try to push up a hill, pop-ups. Brad Feld helped found Techstars in 2006 in Boulder, Colorado. So that's Boulder. He developed a blueprint for building startup communities called the Boulder thesis. Now, I personally have said this before. I don't think you can really build a community. I think communities are emergent. You can build the pieces. The analogy I use along the lines of biological ecology is you don't really grow wheat or plants in general. They grow. You provide the things that they need to grow. So when you say I'm growing wheat, no, you have tilled the soil, you have provided nutrients in the form of topsoil or fertilizers, you provide water, you make sure that the conditions are right or as close to correct as possible to encourage the wheat to grow. You are not growing wheat. Similarly, I don't believe you actually build community. I don't think you build things like this. You can establish the pillars of the ecosystem, which I've talked about before and I will touch on again, but I don't believe you can magically build community. Mostly because, much like wheat, the humans in a community, they kind of do their thing. And if you don't have the pieces you need, all the convincing is not going to cut it. Come on, be in my community. Is there free food? That is a joke I make all the time. So, but I found these 4 bullet items fascinating. I'm going to say them here. I'm going to let you read it, and maybe we'll talk about this another time. Entrepreneurs must lead the startup community. I'm not even going to edit the community part, so just bear with me on that. So entrepreneurs must lead. The Genius Roundtable project was all about gathering local entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, people doing real entrepreneurial endeavors, to sit at a table, learn about what our ecosystem has and does not have and what it needs and how we can get there. From that, a real startup community might emerge. You cannot simply utter the term startup community or startup scene or tech scene. That doesn't magically, it's not rain. So those who launch companies must also devote their time and efforts to help others launch companies. Hey, we're going to get to that in a moment when I talk about platforms and platforms. It's like I've read this before sometime, or maybe I just try to live it. The leaders must have a long-term commitment. That is a problem in Vegas. So for these first two items are substantial problems here in the greater Vegas area. Problem one, quite often you will hear somebody should do that. This is not a Vegas only problem, but I'm in Vegas. Maybe you're in Vegas. We'll talk about Vegas. Entrepreneurs must lead the startup community, not say, hey, somebody else should do this. Well, would you like to help? No, I don't have time. But you're an entrepreneur. You have time to complain. And people think I complain a lot. But really, the fact is, if you're trying to accomplish things, people got to join in. It can't be one person and everybody looking around waiting. So in an entrepreneur community, the entrepreneurs must participate. The leaders must have a long-term commitment. That is a problem here as well. Very transient. Last week, I did an episode. They're all running together now. I do 4 programs a week, different topics. Our transience is palpable. It's something that everybody kind of understands. People will just disappear. Ghosting is a problem in general. So that's a short-term commitment that people can't always stick with. But the likelihood that people will be around for more than 1 year, proactively participating, leading in some way, kind of drops off after 1 year. Anecdotally, we need to get better stats on that. But 1 year to 3 years, if you can make it past 3 years, I've lived in Vegas for 10 years. 10 years and about 6 months now, almost. Yeah. So once you get past 2 to 3 years, you might be sticking around, but it's still a challenge. So long-term commitment, you got to be in. Can't be halfway. Can't be stay on or get off. Got to stay on. Or get off and then don't pretend. The startup community must be inclusive of anyone who wants to participate in it. We have a big problem here. We prop up entities like Startup NV, which does not include any startup. They will pretend they will have different programs. There's some legislation recently, AB 77, I think it was. Basically, the GOED, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, would love it. The right to start. They would love it if there would be more startups. Startups are the fulcrum on which our national economy balances. So big companies are fine, but it's the small companies that can move quickly and do interesting things. They don't require as much capital to start as, obviously a big company is not a startup, but they are nimble. There's all kinds of good things about them. I love them. I would start 3 if I could. Maybe I am. But you have to be able to be inclusive of people who want to participate in it. Those are not just words when it comes down to funding, when it comes down to accelerator programs, you can't be driven completely by your investors if you want to have a true successful or thriving or even viable entrepreneurial ecosystem. The culture of innovation will thrive if you cultivate it with this inclusion. If you say, hey, if you want to start a company, you want to start a restaurant? Great. How can we help? Not, oh, we don't do restaurants. So something to think about. If you skew your view of the entrepreneurial ecosystem by hiring a senior vice president of entrepreneurial community development, and their goals are exits and startup funding for tech startups and unicorns, and how many software engineers are moving into the valley. These are skewed heavily in one direction, whereas Vegas has a fundamental, strong economy centered on the fun economy, or fun. So the fun economy, it's a trademark pending with the University of Nevada, Las Vegas Office of Economic Development. Yes, they've trademarked it, I don't know if the trademark's been granted. It was pending the last time I looked. After a year, it was in the final stages of determination. So you cannot shun people. You should have a community, if you're building one, that understands that starting companies here is something anyone should be able to do, not only the ones that are software developers. We faced exactly the same problem with Code for Vegas. If I'm not a coder, I'm not welcome. That was not the intent. The legacy name from the Code for America days was easily changed. So innovate for Vegas. You can do anything when you're innovating, right? Come on down. The startup community must have continual activities that engage the entire entrepreneurial stack. Hackathons, hey. Startup weekends, yeah. We've had one in the last two and a half years. We could do them every quarter. Other events are necessary to keep the network alive and engaged. One event on a third Saturday, Tech Alley, vastly insufficient. In fact, diminishing returns, to be honest. That's another topic for another time. The startup community must have continual activities. So hackathons, we used to have them every month. Nobody showed up. We can do these things. They are completely within the realm of possibility. Just have to have people participate. That's number one and number two. And number three, all these things fit together. Imagine that. So if you are thinking about if you are a aspirational or nascent entrepreneur, or if you have actually started your company, there are people like myself who want to engage and collaborate and build things that help with those, collaboration, communication, getting the word out, being discovered. There are some things that I will talk about in the coming weeks where we're trying to make sure that when people come here, we have 40 million people visiting the greater Vegas area every year. If you believe the LVCVA, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, 40 million people. That's a lot of people that should know that Vegas has a thriving startup community, if it has one. So the ideas are in the realm of exposure, discovery, engagement, co-creation even. So a lot of work to do there. If you look at Utah, Silicon Slopes, they do these things. As far as I can tell, I've not visited Utah in quite some time, years, decades, but Silicon Slopes proactively engages all parts of Utah. I want to say there are 6 chapters, but they have them, the state is set up to engage entrepreneurialism in different regional areas. As far as startup areas, they seem to be pretty broad, although they do have a claim to be the next Silicon Valley. There is a chip fab. I believe it's from Texas Instruments. I did an episode about this previously. So yeah, Utah, Silicon Slopes, that's a good model to look at. Does everyone have to think they're going to be the next Silicon Valley? No. Let's be a better Las Vegas. Let's be a better greater Vegas. Let's be a greater Vegas. We can do that with some simple tools and a little bit more difficult, something of a culture shift. We're still talking about links. I also have a link to the always boring 101-page empowering entrepreneurship document prepared for EDAWN, which is in Washoe County, and I think LVGEA, Global Economic Alliance in Southern Nevada, played a role. Mo Collins and I did an episode of this very audio program back in April when the report was published. It may have been first week of May. It was published like April 29th, April 20 something. So yeah, right after it came out, I had a chance to read it. We had a very long pre-show conversation that was not recorded, and then like a 2-hour show. So it was pretty good. Although, if I could do part 2, there are several things I would point out that are missing. The number one thing that is missing from this entire document, which it's almost as though it were not considered at all, is the culture of innovation. It's critical, and it's something we are lacking. Make sure we hear that. Lacking. So, I don't know if you hear my mouse clicks. What is a platform? It's a good word. A platform, I'm quoting Bill Gates, so stand back. A platform is when the economic value of everybody that uses it exceeds the value of the company that creates it. Then it's a platform. Now, that was Bill Gates speaking of a comparison of a platform versus an aggregator. And I believe he was talking about Facebook. So Facebook as a platform. So if you look at Google versus Facebook, just their front-facing products, right? Go to google.com, go to facebook.com. Google.com, search engine, famously sent people away. not a sticky platform. The whole idea was to find the thing you're looking for and go there. So Google would monetize the other parts of the internet that you were landing on, right? The search, AdSense and all that. So Google aggregates content from the internet, links, information, words, audio, video, pictures, whatever. Aggregates that, makes it findable, and then sends you to it. Although they've been changing that a little bit with their knowledge graph, and then who knows what AI will bring. Facebook, on the other hand, as a platform, would have you visit Facebook and stay on the platform. Facebook would love it if you never visited any other part of the internets. Even their timeline feature, the entire notion of timelines with open graph data. So when you post a link on your timeline, it would fill in an image and a description and a headline. Those are all things that evolved so that people would know what the link is. Ooh, I won't even read the article. I'll just make a snarky comment on it. Thank you, Facebook. So Facebook as a platform not only keeps people on it, but enabled people to build games, other applications, data collection, psychological experiments, privacy invasion tools, creepy ex-significant other spying platform. So all kinds of things evolved from the fact that Facebook as a platform kept people there, and, well, it ultimately increased the economic value of Facebook, Meta. But theoretically, you could build a business on the Facebook platform, whereas with Google, you had to hope that you were appearing in the first page of the SERP, the search engine result page, right? You want to be on page 1. You want to be as close to the top of that page as possible because you want the people visiting Google to come to you. On Facebook, you want people to use you on Facebook platform. That's not my favorite use of the term, but it is one that you will hear referenced frequently. Next, how about a platform enables applications or other platforms, and I mean applications as in using, not software applications. Applications of the platform enables applications or other platforms to be constructed with it to enable more utility than it provides alone. That's my definition. So when you have a platform, you are able to extend it, you're able to build upon it, you are able to take parts of it that work and make them work together for your application of it. So if I needed to, well, let's use our city open data as an example. City of Las Vegas, or the greater Vegas area more generally, has access to several open data sets that are maintained as a result of the old Code for Vegas getting that started. I was not a part of that directly. Back then, I came much later. So I joined Code for Vegas when we rebooted in 2022. But back in 2014 to 16, Code for America and Code for Vegas collaborated with City of Las Vegas to deploy the open data sets that still exist today. They on their own are useful thanks to ArcGIS and their viewing tools and whatnot. But you can take some of the pieces, some of the data sets, some of the parts of the data sets, and mix them the way you would like to, and come up with your own application of the open data. So take, for example, if you could take business license locations, which they have, they last updated in October, no, recently, may have been October, may have been more recently. Every business license in the local business license repository, mix that with, how about, I'm just making this up right now, how about demographic data? So you could figure out, and you can take census data perhaps, or if it's not in open data, you can take census data, you can take other sources, mix them together, and say, oh, okay, so the demographics of this area with more business licenses compared with the other demographics of this area with fewer, what is the cause and effect? What are the correlations and causations, et cetera? So you can apply the pieces of the platform, or you could build your own platform on top of the platform. And now you can make it easier for people to build their own applications or their own platforms. And so you end up with an extensible city-scale environment to play in, to innovate, to ideate, innovate, and implement, if you will. And to me, if you want to think city as a platform, that is the way to think about it. not as direct economic value, but as utility, whether it is directly economic benefit or if it leads to economic benefit. You may do something that does not directly, maintaining open data sets may not directly enable some sort of economic benefit. There may not be, they're freely available. They're managed, maintained by one person with the city of Las Vegas, Anthony, shout out. But they themselves are not raking in big dollars for anyone. It's how you use them and enable it's the utility of them, how you use the utility, and then you enable potential economic benefit for yourself, for others, etc. So I think it's a little bit more complicated than the Bill Gates quote, hence my take. But if we take the word literally, a platform is something which raises up another thing. It could be a podium, it could be construction tools in the form of scaffolds, right? So you raise up another thing with stability. That means you don't want your platform tipping over, you don't want it tilting or collapsing, right? So you should be able to stand upon the physical platform with a sense of security, knowing that you will not be tipping off of it unless you do that yourself. So it should be solid, it should be reliable, it should be able to maintain you and whoever else is on it, whatever the maximum is, whatever the stated maximum is. You possibly raised up like a stage or a dais, but in general, you are raised up, you are elevated, and that is where your journey may begin. So we need this. So we should have this in the greater Vegas area. You should have one too, wherever you are. So what are the component parts of our city as a platform? You have heard these before, so I will restate them briefly. The infamous ecosystem pillars. Ecosystem pillars, government regulation and infrastructure, community and culture. Community is not something that builds, it emerges. Talent and education, they do not necessarily go together, but they should be proximal. So if you have strong educational bases, you will have a flow of additions to the workforce coming out of your schools. The schools could be universities, they could be high schools, they could be vocational schools, they could be specialized training, boot camp, anything, right? Apprentice programs. So your talent pool that emerges locally should do so from established institutions or methodologies that show some sort of positive outcome over time, right? If you have a poor education system and your talent pool grows with people who don't want to do innovative things. Sorry. If your education system pushes employment over entrepreneurialism, which some parts of the Nevada ecosystem have these types of people in the talent pool. I've engaged many of them. So I blame our education underpinnings. So if you teach people to be employees, you don't necessarily have a talent pool, local emergent talent pool that will be a part of an entrepreneurial ecosystem directly. So that will be some extra work to do. But an educational platform, if you will, on which to build better and better programs that are quick to adapt to the needs of the ecosystem, the direction of potential success, and so on, and the ability to, I don't want to say deliver like it's a commodity, but to have strong, talented people emerging from our educational institutions, but also entering the area, transient or relocated, to be a part of the talent pool. And finally, access to capital. That's always a problem everywhere on the planet, so nothing new there. It is always the first thing that people mention, though. Even though the other items I've mentioned are arguably as important, the next major item is a culture of innovation and of implementation. This is more than the entrepreneurialism component. I often speak of the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. You can be innovative in any number of ways, but it's the implementation part that I'm adding here today. You don't necessarily need to be innovative to open a franchise of a coffee shop or a fast food restaurant or a bookstore or something. You can implement a proven effort, right? So you don't necessarily need to come up with your own idea to be entrepreneurial and to implement. That may be your first step. You may want to take a cautious first step and open a popular coffee shop or something in an area where you feel it might do well. Learn how that goes. And at some point you may think, I think now I'd like to start my own concept from what I've learned. Or maybe you learned all that by working in another establishment, etc. So a culture of innovation and of implementation. You could say, or if you like, but we need both tendencies in the people that make up our ecosystem. So the culture, the people, the culture, the people. Finally, extensibility. I've never really touched on this. If you're going to have a platform, city scale, so city as a platform, you need to have effectively an API. If you are a web person, if you've traveled on the internet, you may have heard web APIs, use an API, the ChatGPT API, the Google API, etc. Application Programmer's Interface. You could say it's an application platform interface if you like. You should be able to accomplish manipulation and interaction with your city as a platform relatively easily. You should be able to find information. You should be able to change information. You should be able to sign up. You should be able to receive updates, get status. It should not be a mystery. It should not be shrugging of shoulders. It sounds like we have that here. All those things. So access to information, I have a list here. Access to information resources. Ways to reserve and consume resources. That means if I need something, I shouldn't have to wander around looking for who to talk to. I should be able to visit a gateway of sorts. I need to reserve a space for a meeting. I need to reserve an outdoor venue for whatever it is. I need to book a spot for a food truck. Who do I get approval from? That should not be shrugging of shoulders. It should be, oh, of course, this is a thing that people do all the time because we have a city as a platform view of enabling entrepreneurs and innovation here in the Greater Vegas area. So, ta-da, piece of cake. Tools for discovery and dissemination of information. Should not have to go to Twitter to figure out what's going on in your city. That should be like second or third tier, just like I mentioned about our own podcasts. Relying on Spotify or Google or Amazon or Apple, you are hoping that they will show people your content. YouTube is notorious for this. You have to hope that it presents it the way you want it presented. I'm always frustrated by the way the description component of an RSS feed is displayed on web pages. It's too much left to chance. So kind of frustrating. So similarly, you should be able to rely on discovery and dissemination of information in your city day to day so that you can spend your time conducting business, not trying to see if you can let people know what's going on. You can argue that this is advertising. That's what advertising and marketing are for. Not untrue. However, you will always be competing here in the Greater Vegas area with stadiums and crime, for examples. So unless you're building a stadium or committing a crime or having one committed upon you, you may not get the attention you were hoping for. So reaching people who are proactively interested in what you're doing, getting the information out to people, whatever that information may be. The age of AI may make that easier, but it also may make it more difficult. There just may be more and more and more generated large language model, generative API, generative AI will make it super easy to fire hose everyone with word salad. So we'll have to see how that goes. But our city as a platform needs to enable the dissemination and sharing of information, and that must then be discoverable by people who want it. That is a challenge. And then, of course, this list is incomplete. So to be truly an extensible city as a platform, we should be able to add more. We should be able to build platforms on platforms. Whatever we need to move, maybe move quickly, not break things. We should be able to accomplish that without, and that's why entrepreneurs should be running things, not taking over. But when you're talking about entrepreneurial ecosystems, you should not be looking at non-government agencies. You should not be looking at city staffers. You should not be looking to on high and saying, you're not an entrepreneur. How would you enable entrepreneurialism here? Speak to your local entrepreneur. So what do we have? What do we have here? What do we have in Greater Vegas? I will tell you, sort of. Our introspection project, when you have one person working on everything takes forever. So it sounds like I'm always talking about stuff, but it happens at the rate of one person effort. So as we roll things out, and hopefully as we get a aha moment, we'll have some people interested in expanding our reach and our rate of deployment of new projects and project ideas. But in the meantime, our introspection project should enable capturing from entrepreneurs what we have and what we do not, and how what we have is working, how what we do not have is not working, and then where we go next. So what do we have? This is anecdotal for the time being, but it's 10 years of keeping an eye on things. We have an ecosystem, but not great. It is not going to be the next Silicon Valley, but it could be better Las Vegas. We have some infrastructure in place. The city of Las Vegas in particular has been focusing on application of BEAD funding. I used to know what BEAD stands for. It's BEAD. It's for internet access. So they've put up, or they're I don't know if you read this, Google Fiber will be available in Las Vegas coming soon, in the next year, as in the next 12 months or so. So Google Fiber, because they're cutting into the streets, they're ripping up everything, they're putting in fiber. So you'll have lightning fast internet access sometimes, some places, maybe. Cross your fingers. Cell phone towers will be going up. 5G will be more prevalent just in time for 6G to come out. So the government is putting that in, state, city, county. We need government to stay in their lane, though. Hand over some funding, stick with sensible regulation and infrastructure deployments, and then get out of the way. So don't pretend that you're entrepreneurs if you are government staff. Do your thing. Answer questions. Send people to the right places. Don't try to drive entrepreneurialism. Our culture needs work. We skew heavily towards the fun economy, and that is apparent. No matter where you look, no matter what you want to do, if you're going to do it in the fun economy, you are probably better off. The notion that this will be the next Silicon Valley, once again, doesn't jibe with the fun economy. Just think about if you had the same impact on gentrification, cost of living, etc., here as was the case in Silicon Valley back in the early 90s for about 10 years, not counting 2001-ish. But, you had 7-8 years of ridiculous cost of living increases, insanity. Forget about living there if you don't make, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year. So you don't want that happening here. Not if you want to maintain your fun economy. So the culture needs work in the fact that many times people assume you will be working somehow in the restaurant business, hospitality, resorts, gaming, I should say. Now professional sports are here. That is the first and last thing that the Vegas Chamber will talk about. That is the first and last thing that the UNLV Office of Economic Development will talk about. It's the first and last thing the city governments will talk about. The A's Stadium, is that going to come in here? If you want to talk about startups and entrepreneurial ecosystems, that's not as exciting as the A's, as the Formula One race for 2024, I should say, as the next CES in 2025, right? Conventions, tourism in general, gaming, professional sports, fun economy. That's where the money is. I recently saw a interview that suggests it's a multi-trillion-dollar future, fun economy. Maybe we're all doing, I should get out of this and do some fun thing. Nevada ranks low in most measures of education effectiveness and outcomes. So our education and talent pool component needs work. We have education, and we do have, I don't want to say that everybody here is not talented. We do have talented individuals doing talent requiring things. So we could use more. We can also use more access to capital, I suppose, but capital does not solve anything. Well, it solves some things, but you cannot sprinkle money on top of the greater Vegas area and have all these other items magically improve. So it's a component, but it is one of the legs of the table, is one of the pillars of our ecosystem. There may be some local capital that has, as in local investors with money, they have low confidence in local investment. That is anecdotal, but it is something I have come across. So an introspective survey may help with some of that, so we can figure out where people stand on either side of the transaction and where we go next. Our culture of innovation is scattered and disconnected. That's all I can say. Our city is behind the times when it comes to interfaces. There was a future forward plan from 2018. I referred to it many times in the Innovate for Vegas, Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. It is the plan for being a smart city. There are some components of it that are sensible. Municipal Wi-Fi. If you go to downtown Las Vegas, you can use the Go Vegas Wi-Fi for free. I don't know if you heard my phone make that little noise. So there are some things like that. There's a Go Vegas application. Awful. There are many bullet items on there. I'm not even going to link to that document because it's hopefully woefully out of date. And as well, a lot of the items on there are what I would call checkbox items. So they check the box. The Go Vegas application, we got it, check. I've talked to people with the city, and of course, if you show someone the app, they look at it, make a face, and say, "What is this?" Yeah, it's not something you would actually use. I think it's been on the Android Play Store, the Google Play Store. I don't know about the iTunes, probably the same. 10 years. I don't think it's got 50,000 downloads. Do recall the city of Las Vegas has a population of 577,000-ish. Clark County has a population of approximately 2.3 million. I would expect to have 1 million downloads by now. How about 10,000? No, I think it's less than 50,000. It doesn't give a precise number on the Google Play Store. But the fact is, just like our open data sets, most people don't know it exists. They don't know how to use it. They don't know what the value is. So we should make these things more visible, more available. There should be better ways to interact with city services, with non-government organizations and their services, an asset map to discover what we have and what we don't have physically, like resources, everything from schools and boot camps to maker spaces to classroom spaces to hackathon spaces to co-work coffee shops. Right? If WeWork goes away, it will. You should be able to figure out where you and your fellow startup starters can meet up and execute your grand plan. Maybe it's opening a new coffee shop. So what do we need? What do we need in Greater Vegas to build our city as a platform? Think of the platform as scaffolding. In the software development world, we use scaffolding. That term usually means if you have a scaffold for a website project, you say, I'm going to build a website. And the scaffolding establishes the core requirements for a website, right? A manifest file, index.html, a style sheet, some fave icons, touch icons for a mobile progressive web app, save to my desktop thing. All the starting point components. So when you scaffold your project, you can start from a functioning, doesn't do anything, but it has put you in a place where now you can start adding your ideas. You don't have to say to yourself, oh, do I need an index.html file? Do I need a site.css file? Do I need a favicon.ico file? Right? Your project is scaffolded. Maybe it sets up some basic database components. Maybe it sets up some basic JavaScript components. Maybe it's a scaffolding for a React or a Vue or a Svelte application, etc. So if your scaffolding helps you, which it hopefully does, you now have a starting point that is higher off the ground than before you started. So your scaffolding is there to elevate you like a platform. Scaffolding can be extended. It does a lot of things for you, and ideally can do more for you as you encounter the missing pieces. I wish it would also create a logo.png file. So maybe it generates a default logo PNG placeholder so you can start building your pages with, even though you don't have your logo, you at least have a placeholder. So you can extend it just like our city as a platform. Our culture is critical. So our scaffolding is needed with, and I mentioned we need an API, we need our tooling, we should be able to, not as a programmer necessarily, but you should be able to get answers to questions. You should be able to move forward on what you need to accomplish, not spending so much time trying to figure out who to talk to, where to go, what Nevada revised statutes. Try reading those someday. So that's where AI really needs to focus. Get some chat LV skim through those NRS, chat NRS. There you go, Nevada Revised Statutes. So culture of innovation, culture is critical. People in and around the greater Vegas area, and especially those visiting. So 2.3 million people live in the Clark County, Southern Nevada area. It's based on census from 2020. So that number may have changed. 2.3 million-ish plus 40 million-ish people visiting. Those are LVCVA numbers. Not sure what the error bars are on those, but apparently our tourism rate has been steadily, not monotonically, but steadily increasing over time. So 40 million, great. We should be developing a culture of innovation and entrepreneurialism in general, not only among the people who live here, but the people who visit who are thinking about staying, or maybe they are remote and they visit here to engage. Maybe they do what I think people should do as our innovation destination. They live and work far away, remote, and every once in a while they bring a team together in the Vegas area. They take part in some sort of local events, local fun economy. They spend some money. They continue developing their startup in person. Maybe they have a little innovation sprint, and then they go back home. You can do this with a company of 4 people or 4,000 or more. So we need to have people, though, who understand the value proposition, not only of collaboration, co-ideation, if you like, but also mentoring, like the point two of the Founders Institute, the Boulder thesis. People should be, it was point 3, including other people, encouraging, right? People who want to be a part of the culture, want to be entrepreneurial, should be encouraged to do so, should be enabled, right? Co-opetition is a thing. So public-facing leadership, you should lead by example. So entrepreneurs who are even failing is a leadership opportunity. So our culture needs to elevate those willing to share, willing to mentor, willing to lead. Maybe you'll induce some FOMO, fear of missing out. And generally, you should be energizing those considering a climb up the scaffolding. Maybe you're only 5 minutes ahead of them, but you can say, oh yeah, okay, here's how you can get started more easily. Don't send them to SBDC. Don't send them to SCORE. Don't send them to Tech Alley. Don't send them to UNLV Office of Economic Development. You should be talking to real entrepreneurs who are really here, really engaged. I give this advice because I have tried it, I've been there, done that. We must do much better. That's why it's in the what we need list. With the infrastructure we have already, so that's the platform we have, we need to consider building on top of that. That's what platforms are. They're there to be built upon. So let's do that. We should be making it easier to deal with the health department, for example, Southern Nevada Health District. How many times have you seen a restaurant, even a coffee shop? There's an ice cream shop near me, where I live, that has been ready to open for a year. Who knows if it will ever open? I've spoken to a restaurant, a coffee shop, other food service. So they're waiting on permits, waiting on inspections, waiting. So that's a real cost. We should be adding to the open data sets so that more people can build with data. They can build with actual stable knowledge that is reasonably accurate and current, right? So more open data, people being able to use them. So that's health department, not as technical, more retail, food services, open data, maybe for application development, but also tools that make the open data visible to normal people who don't want to be programmers, but do want to get answers to questions. I'm waiting for some predictive analytical AI to consume our open data and be able to use it for real predictive analysis. Not ChatGPT. It's not going to tell you how to write a better email with open data. What it could do, though, for example, if we take some open data, we sprinkle in some transit survey, and we say, the routes you have based on our predictive analytics and application of predictive analytical AI, we could come up with better routes, better times, better stop placements based on actual need. Rather than doing a survey every 10 years, as the RTC of Southern Nevada does, we do it every 10 minutes. We need a culture of innovation and implementation that understands that we can do those things And according to rule number 1, entrepreneurs should be driving this stuff. We should be doing it, not hoping someone else will. We should be making maximal use of novel tools and methods. We should be enabling people to do that, not only for the people living here, but for those 40 million people visiting. People who visit the greater Vegas area should head back home thinking, that place is pretty smart, pretty advanced, a lot of cool stuff going on there. Definitely not the next Silicon Valley, no way. But it's a better Vegas than I remember it being last time. So a platform or scaffolding, platform is easier, fewer syllables, is most useful when we use it. This means, once again, not waiting for someone else. Developing the scaffolding, developing the platform, making use of the platform, showing others how to use the platform, defining the platform. These are things that need to be done. They cannot be put off for someone else. Somebody should make this place easier to start startups in. Okay, that's us. Entrepreneurial and innovative thinkers, unite. Turn ideas into action. Encourage others to do the same. When you RSVP for something, show up. When you tell someone you're going to show up, show up. When you create an event for other people to show up, make sure they RSVP and they show up. Enforce that. There's a certain amount of responsibility. Not only that, there's a certain amount of energy that is lost every time you create an event. Case in point, my CES meetup, 56 people RSVP'd, 4 people showed up, only 1 stuck around. That event has died, right? You cannot possibly continue to work as a, if you want to say leader, I suppose, but someone driving efforts like that. You cannot repay that effort by not showing up. And if you are driving those efforts and people don't show up, you have better things to do. I know I do. So we need to have entrepreneurial and innovative thinkers unite and also convince others who are aspirational or nascent in their entrepreneurial innovation efforts to show up and to bring a friend. And when possible, build more scaffolding. Take what doesn't work or doesn't work well or needs more information, more clarity, more utility, make it better. The things you build could help someone else and could even get them higher, and then maybe they'll pull you up. If we have a continuous improvement, a continuous deployment, I know it's continuous integration, but if we continue to improve things in our city as a platform, if the entrepreneurs take that on as an action item, it doesn't have to be your full-time job. You already probably have at least 1, maybe 2, possibly 3. But if you can take the action to actually support in some way the elevation and improvement of our city as a platform, you will get value from it, as will many others. And if you become a leader in the ecosystem, that will return to you someday. If you are waiting for cash dividends, maybe you're doing it wrong. But if you are a leader, you're an entrepreneurial innovator, do it. It doesn't mean you have to give your work away for free, by the way. For Innovate for Vegas Foundation, I have a mantra. I don't want you to work for free, but I want you to be willing to work for free. That is how you make things great, by making them great and realizing value later. If you're waiting for upfront, if you're waiting for the free food, maybe you should do something else. And that is what I have to say about that. City as a platform is an entire area of focus for 2024. Not something I will underscore as the main topic, but thinking in terms of platforms at city scale has always kind of been the thing. The Genius Roundtable kind of aligns with the Boulder thesis. So if we can build a platform on which you can build a platform, or on which you could build your application of the platform. And again, application could be a restaurant, could be a food truck, could be a bookstore, could be a software company, could be a hardware company, could be biotech. The list goes on. So you are applying the resources available in the ecosystem by way of our city as a platform. If you can extend that platform, make it stronger, make it better, make it work more, do it. You will get recognized at some point. Don't spend your time talking to others about what somebody else should do. Spend your time doing it. Spend your time interacting and supporting and enabling people who have the time and the resources to do it. Be a part of it. Don't wait for it. That is how we will make a better Vegas. On that note, I will remind you to visit my buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo page. You will find my other audio programs, Quaggling Sand, FFS Talk, this, Cafe Genius Impresarios, and the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program, talking about a lot of different topics. Would love to have more guests, more discussions. We'll be introducing some live stream / interactive engagement with listeners. Need to grow the audience, and we need to have better ways of discovering content like this, not just by me, by anyone in and around the greater Vegas area making content, YouTube videos, audio programs like this, blogging, etc. You shouldn't be using LinkedIn and TikTok for these things. You should be able to find this information on the internet using whatever tools you like. You should be able to search for it. You should be able to subscribe to it. You should be able to get an email about it. You should be able to share it with your friends. Oh, I have to sign up for a LinkedIn account. No, that's dumb. LinkedIn started in 2003. So it's been around for 20 years and a few months. It was May of 2003. So 20 years of the same platform. All they want to do is have you log in. Let's have our smart city be visible and accessible without the need to sign up, log in. You should be able to find information in useful ways, advance your cause and the cause of others, not play games, not hand your data over to third parties who are not here and don't care to be. And that is where I'll leave it today. Thank you so much for listening as always. Take care.